I lose my entire home with my family because they refused to resettle me. They told me I should take cash compensation.
Hata wenye timanyire nka project ubo bakwenda kukikora batta ito nk'abantu abali hansi batugire ugemba bazinka itwe abo ensonga bakutunyiga muno.
When the project of EACOP started, all people thought that maybe it is a privilege to them. But we came to realize that it is almost a curse.
They normally tell us that you people, you shouldn't inform other people to resist. If you inform them to resist, you're in trouble. That is already a threat. They are threatening us.
My name is Diana. I am from Uganda. The Tilenga oil project is an upstream oil project through which Total Energies intends to extract for oil from within Murchison Falls National Park and other areas. The Tilenga oil project has about 400 oil wells, and of those, 100 are within Murchison Falls National Park. Now, the oil extracted from the Tilenga and Kingfisher oil fields will be transported by a crude oil pipeline called the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or the EACOP. The EACOP, if it is constructed, will be 1,443 kilometers, and it will start from a district called Hoima in western Uganda and will go to the port of Tanga at the Indian Ocean in Tanzania. From there, the oil transported by the EACOP will be taken to export markets so as to be used. And this will greatly impact the climate, but also biodiversity, the environment, and livelihoods of people in East Africa.
Because climate change concerns us all. At Total, we are contributing to the energy transition, and we aim to get to net zero emissions by 2050. Because supplying more energy with less carbon is a major challenge, we are mobilizing all our competencies to improve the energy efficiency of our sites and upgrade our market offering. Our action includes lower emission energies, like natural gas and renewable electricity. Because we want to keep going further in supporting our customers' energy transition, aside from our traditional businesses. Because we think that energy is at the heart of life. By developing new, low-carbon businesses, we are helping to build a future that accommodates development and climate.
The East African Crude Oil Pipeline that is going to be constructed by Total, a third of this pipeline will be built on Lake Victoria Basin. This is the second largest freshwater body, and it is a source of livelihood, source of income for over 40 million people. Many lives depend on this lake. I am attached to this lake because I grew up seeing it, and already it's facing many effects of climate change from different activities like sand mining, overfishing, pollution and swamp reclamation, and already research shows that this lake will be dried out in 100 years from now. If the EACOP project continues in this way, then we won't even have the 100 years. So we have to fight for this lake because this is our future. This is the future of our children and the coming generations. So we have to fight for it. In Uganda alone, 178 villages are already lost. In Tanzania, 231 villages are already lost because of this project, and households are lost. Culture, traditions are fading because of this pipeline, and if it continues this way, there will be even more effects.
The majority of our forests are in the Alberta and Graben, where the oil and gas resources are found in Uganda, and that because of that, the forests are under a lot of pressure. People who want to benefit from the oil sector through either being compensated or through engaging in industrial activity, such as growing sugarcane, thereafter manufacturing sugarcane that can be sold to the oil sector, but also outside the region. We see that they are increasingly grabbing forests and forest land. So Bugoma Forest in the Alberta and Graben fell victim to this land grabbing, and in 2016, that is when the grabbing was formalized, when the Ugandan government issued land titles to the land grabbers. And FIEGO is working with national but also regional, that's at subnational level, and the local man and woman who depends on Bugoma Forest directly to campaign for this forest to be saved, to ensure that it is returned to its original land use, which is forest use. Not the entire forest was grabbed, only 8,000 acres so far have been taken. Another 2,000 acres were claimed, but the 8,000 acres is being destroyed, and we are campaigning to ensure that this stops.
We have seen the destroying of environment, cutting down trees, and we have seen the changes of the weather, the climate, the place becoming too hot, which is not being the scarcity of rain, which is not be the case. We see a lot of negative changes being created, and more are still coming.
The authority indicated that particular areas of the country will be receiving slightly more rainfall than the rest. The rainfall outlook for August indicates that areas of northern...
People have tried to express, project affected persons have tried to express all these effects in using different mechanisms. Some have written many petitions, some have gone to court, some have met Total over this, some have met government over this, some have met different stakeholders, all the time explaining these effects. But every time Total say, we are going to work on that, we are going to try to follow standard, we are going to make sure that we do everything right. But now, as I talk, they say they are going to do very standard mitigation. They have a mitigation plan, and they did environmental assessment, impact assessment, which was objected by many, some of us. We said it was not really, it was not standard impact assessment. But amidst our objections, government went ahead and approved it, said, okay, this one is okay, you can work. But now as we talk, they have already started failing to manage things.
of recent, a petition against too much dust coming from their project, entering people's homes, entering people's food, entering people, causing a lot of illness to people. It has been submitted to Ministry of Health, and just mere dust, Total is failing to control. Now, what about when it comes to the serious, devastating impacts? Can they manage with their impact, with their social impact report? Can they manage? They don't have mitigation plan. In other words, it's something we are so worried of. Yeah.
Il est clair que nous avons pris et nous sommes conscients des enjeux liés à ce projet qui est un projet terrestre. Les projets de développement terrestre sont plus compliqués à mettre en œuvre que des projets en mer, c'est clair. D'abord parce qu'on y traverse des territoires qui appartiennent à des personnes, donc il y a un travail important qui est fait, un travail de grande qualité qui effectivement concerne pas mal de personnes. Et je trouve qu'il faudrait d'ailleurs, il serait intéressant que les médias s'intéressent de près, et on va leur proposer de le faire dans les prochaines semaines, d'aller à la rencontre de ces populations locales, pour voir si effectivement, comme on pense vouloir le faire croire, la grande majorité est contre le projet. La vérité, ce n'est pas le cas. C'est que l'immense majorité des personnes est favorable au projet en Ouganda et retire quelque part, ils le disent eux-mêmes, un certain bénéfice, y compris lorsque nous devons leur proposer de leur relocaliser en leur construisant des nouvelles maisons.
Tanga affected me and my family in many ways. Number one, in 2017, Total E&P Uganda came and acquired the land for the central processing facility, which the area is 772 acres. So in that land which they acquired, my home was there. So it was a place where I'm have a residence with my family. I have there 2 main houses, 1 kitchen and the toilet. The land was not mine, it was for the family. But the land was compensated. The issue which I got and it affected me and my family, when we went for disclosure with Madam, they disclosed to me, or to me and Madam, the money which we show was very little. So we opted resettlement. From that day, we start pulling the ropes. Then they say I should log it grievance. I log grievance to them, but the process was long. It took many years, but finally, I lose the home. I lose my entire home with my family because they refused to resettle me. They told me I should take cash compensation. This is my home. I shifted from there after they refused to relocate me. Then I came and I asked this part of land to the land members, or to Balimak land members. They gave me a part. So I constructed this small house. The other one is a kitchen. So that main house I'm sharing with my daughters, which are above 18 years. In our tribes, it is not easy to share the house, the same room with your daughters or your sons, which are above 18. So that is my main house. I suppose it don't have a room. It is just like a hall. At night we put different beds, we share. But if my sons, they used to go at night somewhere for get a night there. So that thing really affected me and my entire home strongly, very bad actually. So it is Total. Last month, July, Total came and acquired piece of land to the landowners. They want to build a dam. That water, if the flood comes, must be there. Then some days they come and pump. But but now they haven't built. It is in a process. So as the process is delaying and the water is continue, flood is continue coming to the people's garden. Yes. So per now they don't have any formula to stop water. It is not only me, it is many people are there crying their crops. Why I'm speaking like this, it was 2019 when I went to France to witness in tribunal court about a violation of human rights. I was arrested in Entebbe when I was coming back. It was 2019. So from that day I start, even they warned me when I was there in a jail. After release me, we went in a certain room. Those ones, those one who arrested me, they were security agents. They warned me serious. They told me, don't again go and witness. If you do again, you shall lose your life totally.
Project buyayizire kale project byabeta kayizire embere kabanongi habwensonga twalimaga nolima muhogo yawe kurungi nolima buli kimu kyona kyo kwenda kurungi no yegonzo taina kakutina ko noruni nogamba ngo ratina si ngo haliyoki omuntu nolima wenda nohura we noli kurungi oli free mbomezi bona no koleki okwenda chonka project eno buyayizire embere kahindukira kimu habwensonga obabaire project obyabe netandika bakagamba mutagaruka kubyara ki kubaga bakasanga haine emisire erimu eyitubyayire bagamba mutagaruka kubyara ki muhogo naito niho twakora ki aho twamana okutina hamutima no gamba kubyara ebihimba barajya bakabiha byona bakabikura byona bakabimaramu kubanga project obyabe netandika yasanga ngo muntu obyayire ebihimba obyayire uruso muceri nibatambura baramuga nibakupima nibapima nibaraba nibatana bisambya bimwe binyoba nibabisambya sambya byona babireka bina biri hansi atinka nyowe nko umuntu nkubaza nti itwe project ege yayizire eya mafutegyo eka tutalibanizamu muno habwensonga yatuletera yatunagira nenjara habwensonga omuntu okubaho no kulima bakabatoka ine kulima ebihimba batwakana kuliba muhogo ati tuna turaho omanya omuntu kubaho taina ho kulima kana omuntu okaboina ho kulima orusi kale ne sente singakiri batusaswire ugama omuntu bamusaswire ukagenda ukagura ahandi bati ati nensasura mbi tiba tusasura na kurungi
EACOP, they promised us that the way they found people after they have passed their pipeline, the livelihood of people will change. Since then, it has taken, now it is 5 years. The cost of living, now it has gone high. It is more higher than the way how it used to be. There is changes which has happened. For example, the land which used to cost a piece of land of 1 million, now we are going to 30 million. Since then, they promised people that they are going to pay them the compensation. Nothing has ever done. They have not done anything. And that one has affected people. Because the money which they are paying them, they can no longer purchase the same land that the EACOP took. In fact, we have lost. Because we had land, now we don't have our land. And we don't have money. They have not paid us. What do we have now? We have lost land and we don't have money to purchase another land. I had only 1 acre of land. 2 pipelines passed through. I had a house. I had a business of beekeeping. After they measured their piece of land they wanted, the piece of land they wanted, I could no longer control those beehives of mine freely, because people, they thought that the land has been taken to government, whereby they started destroying my beehives. They put their cows, they make those things to fall down. So my business collapsed. We use it to plant tobacco. We use it to plant things which would bring us money. But now we are told not to continue planting. You plant things which cannot grow, which cannot exceed 3 months. Now, if you plant beans now, can that one take a kid to school? It can't, because we had a business of planting tobacco and the other things which could give us money. That one was stopped. So our kids, some of them, they are at home. People who had their farms, like me, I had bees. They are no longer there. Now, what are they going to restore now? Because now I don't have anything. If I had 100, maybe now I have 10. But they are saying they will come, they do something more than what I had. But where is it? It was already spoiled in 5 years.
We don't have nowhere to go because the money they are valuing our crops and the rates is too low. We can't afford to purchase in our neighboring areas because the land price has been increased. Another impact, by then, we also starved because they had stopped us from using our land since 2019, March 15th, 2019. So since then, we saw that we are going to overstarve. We decided to use our land forcefully so that we can dig the crops which can assist us to have food. They promised to construct some people houses, and till in Hoima district, nobody has been constructed for. And also they promised us that they are going to carry out livelihood restoration, and they see those who are being shifted to have cattle, chicken, pigs. Till now, nothing is done. Nobody has benefited from from EACOP. Nobody. I tell you true. Me also am a pap myself, but they just declined my activities. They normally tell us that you people, you shouldn't inform other people to resist. If you inform them to resist, you're in trouble. That is already a threat. They are threatening us.
Le respect de l'autre est une valeur de Total Énergie au cœur de notre éthique collective. Le respect de l'autre, c'est notamment le respect des droits humains, sur lequel nous ne transigeons pas dans nos opérations à travers le monde. C'est une exigence collective, une exigence individuelle aussi. Je vous l'ai dit, la transparence est une règle de conduite de Total Énergie dans l'engagement avec la société, quel que soit le sujet concerné. Elle s'inscrit dans le cadre de notre volonté de promouvoir une transition juste. La qualité, la pérennité de nos relations avec nos parties prenantes sur le terrain est essentielle. Nos projets ne peuvent se faire sans les populations locales, car ils sont développés avant tout pour répondre aux besoins d'un territoire, d'un pays, et contribuer à l'amélioration du bien-être des populations qui nous accueillent. Je souhaiterais évoquer nos projets en Uganda, en Tanzanie, qui font l'objet de critiques régulières par certaines ONG. Ces projets constituent des projets industriels majeurs pour ces deux pays. L'annonce en février 2022 du lancement de ce développement marque notre engagement qui se veut exemplaire en matière de développement durable. Projet pétrolier à faible intensité carbone, création de valeur pour les pays et les communautés locales, gain net en matière de biodiversité, tels sont nos engagements.
It's important to recognize that the pipeline will generate large social costs, even if it is not developed and operated at full capacity. To understand these costs, recognize that the pipeline proposal is very similar to a lottery. Now, we all know how a lottery operates. The sponsor promises a huge reward if you win, and so people pay small amounts and they don't win. The probability of winning is tiny. And the same thing is true of the pipeline lottery. Why is that? Because countries around the world, businesses around the world, and families around the world are working hard to reduce their demand for oil. And if there is no demand for oil, then the oil company will not be able to sell the oil once it reaches the port on the Indian Ocean, and there will be no revenues, and there will be no increases in jobs. Now, the worst way to play a lottery is to play it with borrowed money. But that's exactly what Uganda and Tanzania are doing. They've already borrowed money, and they plan to borrow even more to contribute to the construction and operation of the pipeline. You see, the current agreement is that these two countries will own about 30% of the pipeline. So they will receive about 30% of the revenues, but they also must contribute about 30% of the cost of construction and operation. So it's likely that as they buy lottery tickets, as they pay money to construct the pipeline, they won't win the huge reward, but instead they will have to pay back the money that they have borrowed to participate in the lottery. That means that instead of winning the huge reward, which they've indicated they would use perhaps to build new schools, new hospitals, new roads, new infrastructure, and propel their economy forward to a new level of prosperity, that instead when they lose the lottery, they will take a step backward. They might have to close schools, they might have to close hospitals, they might have to let roads and other infrastructure go to ruin in order to pay back the money they have borrowed.
We believe that oil isn't actually Uganda's most important and biggest resource. Uganda has a number of other resources that can be invested in, and they would have a greater and bigger multiplier effect than the oil and gas industry. We look at clean energy. You know, I am informed that currently the clean energy sector in Uganda employs millions and millions of people, and it has the potential to employ more people. People can make clean energy saving cook stoves and make money. People can sell briquettes and make money, and these are jobs that can be done by even people who do not have formal schooling. So these are inclusive industries. But even for people who have gone to school, if they are engineers, they can be involved in electrical engineering. They can be involved in making of electricity vehicles. They can be involved in the installation of solar panels. So the clean energy sector is an inclusive employer and has the potential to create millions and millions of jobs.
Uganda is going to host the world's longest crude oil pipeline, thanks to Total. Developed countries like France, Germany have banned fossil fuels for many years, but their appetite for oil is still high. I come here today to remind or inform us that the greed exhibited by your leaders and global North corporations is a danger to the lives of people in Africa. It is a danger to us. It is a danger to me. It is a danger to wildlife and a threat to future generations. The global North is too greedy to think about the children in Africa who go hungry as a result of climate change-induced famine. The global North's love for money from oil is growing every day that passes by. This love is a cause of death to indigenous people. It is harming birds, wild animals, humans that bear the brunt of the climate crisis. Why, Germans? Why, France? Why, Europeans? Why all the climate injustices against Africans, Asians, Latinos, and the rest of the global South? Why don't you give us a chance to live? Doesn't our future mean anything to you? You don't care because you can afford to adapt to climate change, yet we can't. France is aware Uganda is among the most vulnerable countries to climate crisis and one of the countries that are least prepared to combat its effects. But oil giant Total is determined to worsen the situation.
Total to stop funding our destruction through the EACOP project. I want the people to join us in this fight to stop EACOP, and I want the politicians to stand on the good side of history for the people and the planet.
We are not going to drop down the mic of climate justice. We always make our voice heard. Tanzania is my village. Africa is my country. During colonialism, I didn't speak because I was not there. During slave trade, I didn't speak because I was not there. But now it is climate injustice. Now it is climate crisis. Now it is climate change. I'm raising my voice so as to make sure those who are contributing to climate crisis, they take urgent action. For us, Total company is like a devil, and we will never kneel down to the devil until our last drop of our blood. We need urgent climate action. We need urgent climate action. For them capitalists, EACOP is all about money. But for us, climate justice, we know that EACOP is all about endangering with life. EACOP is all about drying water sources. EACOP is all about exploiting poverty. EACOP is all about amplifying climate crisis.
Banks have a very big role to play because they are funding this. They are the ones injecting money into fossil fuels, and they are the ones funding our destruction. So it's very important for banks to become friends of the environment, to become friends of the planet, and to understand the impacts that what they are funding is going to cause, to understand that what they are funding is actually not funding a better future, but it's funding our destruction.
It's all about money. They are putting, the profits over people. We must understand there is no any financial entity or any institution that comes into an agreement which doesn't have a return in the end. So it is very important that we put an end, to their arrangements, because it will lead to a destruction. It will lead to a catastrophe, or an atmosphere that it will take us, ages to reverse or not reverse at all. So it is important that we push out all these financial institutions that are trying to finance, that are trying to push, that are trying to fuel the project so that, it commences.
Development should not come at the cost or at the expense of nature. Fossil fuels must be kept in the ground. I know that the German Export Credit Agency could provide finances for the East African crude oil pipeline, and I'm here to tell you that this is a terrible idea. We need investment in renewable energy. Africa receives sunlight throughout the year. This is a gift. Let's unwrap it. And I call on Deutsche Bank, Germany's biggest bank, to stop supporting Total Energies.
Erde an Deutsche Bank, verpflichtet euch jetzt, nicht weiterhin die EACOP-Pipeline zu finanzieren. Hört auf, fossile Expansion zu finanzieren durch Investments in Firmen wie Total. Stoppt EACOP. Es liegt an euch.
Total Energies and its partners are trying to secure $5 billion in financing. It's looking at several major banks, Standard Bank being one of them. In a written statement, the bank, however, says they're still weighing their options on the matter, pending the outcome of their independent assessment into Total Energies' climate change strategies and targets. The bank says their potential funding of the project would be determined by the credit approval process once all due diligence assessments have been concluded. This includes looking into the legal, technical, security, market reserves, environmental, social, and other concerns of the project. It's led to activists demanding even more clarity from the bank.
Standard Bank South Africa, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, and finally Sumitomo Mitsui Bank have been involved in trying to align or arrange the finances that are needed for this project. It's quite an expensive venture. It's a $5 billion project. About 60% of it is supposed to come from debt financing, and therefore the proponents of this project have to make sure that they get $3 billion to be able to see it through as debt. And so far we can say with certainty that they're nowhere closer to getting this $3 billion.
EACOP の事業を可能にしているものの一つはお金です。そのお金を提供する重要な役割をアジアの銀行も担っています。三井住友銀行はトタル社の財務アドバイザーを務め、30億ドルのプロジェクトファイナンスの共同幹事項も務めています。また中国交渉銀行もスタンダード銀行とともに共同事業者の財務アドバイザーを務めています。EACOP は気候危機の加速だけでなく、貴重な生物多様性や保護区を破壊し、人権侵害を引き起こし、また人々の生活を破壊するなど、非常に多くの環境社会問題を抱えています。そのため世界中で30以上の金融機関がすでに EACOP に支援を行わないと表明しています。また日本のみずほ銀行も現在進行中の環境社会問題が解決されない限り EACOP に融資を行わないと発表しています。一方で三菱 UFJ 銀行は沈黙を守り続け、三井住友銀行はその積極的な関与から最も大きな訴訟リスク、財務リスク、評判リスクなどのリスクを抱えていると言えます。三井住友銀行をはじめ日本やアジアの金融機関は EACOP のような人々の暮らしや環境や気候を破壊する事業から明確に距離を置き、代わりにアフリカの人々が気候危機に対応でき、豊かさを享受できるような真の解決策に資金を投じるべきです。